the like pause before we go live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Oh My God, the first live book club live show of 2022. I'm sleepy. I think the time change might be affecting some of you in the chat as well. Hopefully, coffee will be arriving for me shortly. But I'm going to give you a quick refresher on the book club if this is your first time here. This is a 10-month a year book club. So from February to November, every month we read a book together. I have co-hosts. They're so lovely. They'll introduce themselves in a second. And we talk about the books that we read in the month of February. It was Razorblade Tears. Thank you so much for your patience for this live show. And yeah, it's a mystery, thriller, suspense, horror book. If you want to update your progress on like Goodreads and the Goodreads group, you can use the hashtag Literally Dead Book Club on Instagram, Twitter, wherever. And I like to avoid anybody's like opinions or ratings and just avoid everything about the book until we're live, and then I can find out with everyone what everyone thought. So that's always really fun. Yeah, we're usually here for about half an hour. You can spill all your thoughts in the comments. I know some of you are wearing your Literally Dead Book Club merch today, so I really appreciate you picking that up. You want to give me a little skull emoji so I know. And yeah, maybe a little thumbs up if you read the book. And now we'll have Molly and Mina introduce themselves. Maybe just like what you typically read on your channel. And if you have any recent like favorite mystery or thriller books so people kind of know your taste. Let's start there. Molly.
Do you want to? Who wants to go first? I don't care.
I think we can go in order.
Okay. So should I go? Is Molly going?
Oh.
Molly, go.
Okay. I don't think it's helping that my internet's lagging. I'm really sorry. Hi, I'm Molly from Mine and Molly. And my favourite thrillers, much to I must say, that's not. If we were just like, yeah, am I good?
I think I'm losing Molly a little.
Yeah, same.
No, Molly.
No, you're frozen.
Oh no. Okay,
I'm gonna go to my laptop and come back.
Yeah, why don't you pop back in?
Okay. Hopefully it goes better. All right.
Okay, Mina, you introduce yourself.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Mina. My channel's Mina Reads, if you want to check me out. Typically, I read a lot of romance and like fantasy, but this year I've been getting into thrillers. So I would say so far my favorite thrillers have been For Your Own Good by Samantha Downing and They Never Learn by Lane Fargo. Really enjoyed both of those. But I'm still pretty new on my thriller journey, so I don't know.
Cool. I love that. For Your Own Good is such a good one. It's funny because one of the last questions of the live show usually is like, what's a book that you would recommend if people liked this book? Mm-hmm. And when I was thinking about revenge stories that I would also recommend, I feel like They Never Learn is such a good one to recommend. Though I don't know that I've ever really read a book quite like Razorblade Tears, so I don't have like the perfect recommendation. So I'm sure the people in the comments throughout this video might have some things to recommend. I'm gonna just wait on Molly. Molly's internet was like good for a second, and then as we were leading up to the live show, it started to get a little sketchy. So we'll see. Let me introduce myself. I'm Kayla. My favorite mystery thrillers, I don't know if I have any really recent ones, because when I think of favorites, I go back to like some classic favorites. I feel like 2019 was a really good thriller year for me. That's when I read like Lock Every Door and The Turn of the Key, which are kind of classics for me and my taste. And then if you are participating in the next live show, it'll be The Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley. I haven't started that quite yet, but I really like the guest list by her. And then a reminder is in the month of April, we're reading all her little secrets. Molly, you're fine. You can do it. I wonder if your phone would be, I wonder if you could do it via your phone instead. Interesting. Okay, so actually I was going to have Mina be the one to kind of introduce us to the book. So Molly doesn't have to be here for that. If you want to, I don't know if you want to read the synopsis or you want to tell us in your own words what the book that we read was about.
Okay. How would I describe it? Because I don't know. I feel like this synopsis is a little long. Basically, Razorblade Tears is about these two fathers, Ike and Buddy Lee, and both of their sons were gay and they were married, and they recently died under like mysterious circumstances. They were murdered, and so Buddy Lee and Ike decide that they are going to investigate and find out what happened to their sons, and basically get revenge for them. So this is like a revenge tale, and it kind of has like a buddy dynamic going on between Ike and Buddy Lee, and I don't know. I feel like that's how I would describe it. Does that feel accurate to everyone else? Okay.
I feel like, honestly, I often go into mystery thrillers not knowing a lot about them. That's just how I prefer to go into it. So I didn't know a lot about Razorblade Tears besides that element of it. And when people talked about the fact that it was about this gay couple, I honestly really thought a portion of the book was going to be from their perspective. Yeah. And that we were maybe, oh, you too. Okay. That maybe we were going to get like half and half, like their fathers, and then you would flash back to their relationship. And I'm not going to get into my rating or my feelings quite yet. We'll see if Molly can get back in first. But I was disappointed to just be in the revenge story and not getting a lot of like the personality of the sons. And I think that was kind of a missed opportunity.
Yeah, I agree.
There's always so many comments and I want to go through them all and just, this is an interesting point. It's not really a thriller, it's more like a contemporary mystery. That's tough because I do feel like it is like very action based, but it takes a while to get there. Okay. I didn't realize it was getting adapted. That's interesting.
Yeah, I feel like it would make a good movie. Like, it has a very cinematic quality to the writing, so I think that it would be a good movie or show. Whatever.
Totally. I think the, oh my God, it's funny because I jotted down like who I was casting in my head as I was reading it. And I wrote down Billy Bob Thornton.
Oh my God, he'd be perfect.
Right? Or I also wrote down Ethan Hawke, and then I wrote down Idris Elba. I don't know if I'm confident in that one, but I think Billy Bob Thornton is my pick.
I feel like Idris could pull it off. Especially thinking about his character from The Wire. Like, I think he could pull off being Ike.
Okay, so should we, Molly. Molly, I miss you. I want to get into ratings, but I really want to hear their rating. Oh, man. Interesting. I think Denzel Washington's a little...
Yeah, I would say he's a little old, maybe. He's a little old. just a smidge, you know?
Although we didn't really get the direct ages of these men, I don't feel like. Maybe I'm just not remembering correctly. So sad, Molly.
Oh my God. Someone said Woody Harrelson and Marshall Ali. Those would be pretty good ones.
Oh,
I like that.
Considering Woody Harrelson, that's an interesting one. Oh, okay, maybe they did say it. Jamie, no.
I'm sorry. I love Jamie, but I don't think that he could do it.
That's not the one. Okay, I guess let's just get into ratings. Oh, hold on. I think I see Molly. Oh, sorry. I clicked you so fast before you were even ready.
That's fine.
Oh, yay. Okay, Molly, do you want to, before maybe your internet lags out again, introduce yourself and tell us, you can kick off your rating for the book. So you can tell us first.
Okay. Hi, I'm Molly from Mine and Molly. I'm back. I gave this 5 stars.
Shut up.
I know.
I was not expecting that.
Were you not?
No, because I gave it 2.
I gave
I
it
didn't like it.
I gave it 2.5 stars.
But do you know what it is? I didn't like it in the sense that, because I didn't feel like it was much of a thriller.
Mhm.
Like, it didn't really feel like a thriller to me. I just liked the general story.
Yeah.
Don't let
Why
us
does
talk
this-
you down. I think
No,
5
it's
stars
fine.
is, I'm actually so happy. This is best case scenario because oh my God, I feel a sense of relief because when I go into a live show, my biggest fear is that if I didn't like the book and then everyone else didn't like it, we're all just like, meh. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad. Okay. We're really getting such a range of ratings, which I absolutely love to see. I think maybe my 2 is a little harsh. Maybe a 2.5. It's just like my initial thoughts, like if we want to give before any spoilers, just like general kind of overarching feelings. My feelings are that if I hadn't seen people loving this that are my age, I would have never recommended it for someone my age. I feel like this book was written for like dads, you know, who are reading like Harlan Coben and James Patterson and Linwood Barkley, and they want to go in, they want to branch into like some more diversity, and they want to like expand their, you know, and that's the age range that I feel like often doesn't pick up from authors outside of their own experience. And like this would be such a great recommendation for them to get some like really heavy-handed conversations about allyship and about like acceptance. And maybe that's what they need. So that's what I would recommend it to, like the dads. But since I know that people enjoy it, like I know Gabby liked it, I know Jessie liked it, and now I know Molly liked it, obviously the audience is varied. So that's good.
Mhm.
Those are my general feelings.
Yeah. I would say that my general feelings are pretty similar. I think that this is like an interesting book and I think it's well written, but I don't feel like I was the target demographic of this book. And so I just felt like, like I feel like this is the kind of book that like my dad would love because it reminds me of movies that he likes. Like he's obsessed with like Liam Neeson and like Clint Eastwood movies and stuff. And I feel like this is for like that demographic of people, like that audience. That's how it felt to me at least. But clearly that's not the case because lots of
Maybe
different
I
people
am
like it.
just the dad. Like,
That's valid.
I give off that vibe. It's fine.
Okay, what were your general thoughts though, Molly? Like, well, I guess it's a 5 star, so you just thought it was perfect.
Well, see, my problem is I tend to give 5 stars to books that made me cry, and I cried at the end.
Okay.
So
Valid.
in my head, I'm like, oh, 5. But it's like what I say, I did not feel like the whole way through it that it was a thriller. It might have been because of the headspace I'd been in and the fact that I just solely listened to the audiobook. That might have been part of why. But yeah, it just didn't feel like much of a thriller to me. It felt way more like more of a hard-hitting contemporary. I'm glad we all feel the same. Let's just be like a community of dads. It's fine.
The dad
Yeah.
leaders. Okay, let's get into. I need to grab my notes. Let's get into spoilers. So, if anybody here hasn't read the book, obviously you know that there is an opportunity that it could be a 1 star for you or a 5 star for you. So, I would pick it up. I still feel like I would recommend it if you came into this live show interested in it, just because like it wasn't my favorite thing. I actually have no hard feelings with this book. There's nothing that I look at and go, I didn't like this, I hated this, I think this was wrong. It just wasn't for me, and I know that it's for other people. So Yeah, let's get into spoilers. I want to hear. What do I want to hear first? I want to hear your favorite element, because even though some of us didn't love it, there are definitely good takeaways. So,
I could go first. So one of my favorite elements is definitely the dialogue. I feel like the regional dialect and the slang that they use is just like very well executed, and it felt like a really immersive experience. Like I felt like I was in that setting with the characters, and it just felt really real. So I enjoyed that part a lot. I do think that the characters are interesting people, particularly Buddy Lee. I feel like he might have been my favorite character just because he was very interesting to me. Also, I found him kind of funny. And I do like revenge plots. So I did enjoy the revenge element and that exploration of like rage and regret and all that stuff. So like that was cool. But yeah, I'd say that those are my favorite elements for the most part.
I agree with you in terms of the like dialogue. I really enjoyed the dialogue, and I feel like that really did come across well through listening to the audiobook. And I also enjoyed that it was more so from the perspective of, and like you got to see the thoughts of these two dads that like didn't really know how to deal with like their son's sexuality and stuff. I feel like a lot of the time in books that have that kind of commentary, you see it from like the other side.
Mhm.
And like, so that I really enjoyed. I don't read a lot of revenge plots. I don't know if that is something I loved, but
I agree that like this isn't a mindset that we often get, and it's like an uncomfortable mindset to be in because like you obviously aren't meant to empathize with these characters in a lot of senses. But that's not like a flaw of the book. I don't think like that's obviously intentional that you're not supposed to really understand where they're coming from, and then you come to understand where they're coming from. I do enjoy a morally gray character. I think that's the thing that I would say I liked. I think that you can empathize with them in certain ways, and he he did a good job of covering, explaining where these dads are coming from, even if you would never agree with them. But I think it's always interesting to be in the head of someone who just has nothing to lose. That's not something that I read a lot, even in revenge stories. Like there often is a sense of self, what's the word, like protection. But in this one, they just like really did not care. They were willing to kind of do anything, and that was an interesting perspective to be in. Okay, what about least favorite element?
I would say my least favorite element is like the villain in this. Are we in the spoiler portion? We can
We're
spoil
full
things.
spoilers. Go for it.
Okay, so I hate one of the villains. He's kind of like a side villain, Grayson. I hated him so much. Every time he was on the page, he just made me sick. Not even just that he was like a white supremacist and like a piece of shit, but because everything that he said, like all of his dialogue was just so cringeworthy. Like it was not scary. He just sounded ridiculous. Like, what are you talking about? He just sounded so funny to me in a bad way. So I hated him. He was like the worst part for me personally. Like I just terrible.
Yeah, I wasn't really expecting that perspective to come in. Like I said, I really was expecting us to be in the heads of the sons at some point in the story and get more backstory and get to know them. So when we switched to that random guy the very first time we got that, I was like, what the fuck am I reading? Like, this is so random who we're following right now. And it came to make sense at the end, and I think it's an interesting choice.
Yeah.
But it was so jarring to me. I was like, who are these people? Like, let me catch up.
Yeah. I'm reading some of the comments and it says like they should have left the biker gang element out, and I agree. I feel like the book was better when they weren't there. It just was very silly to me.
Well, that's the thing, is they would have made it more of a mystery.
Yeah.
Because like there was no mystery here because we got so much right off the bat of what we knew was going to happen. Molly, is there anything you didn't enjoy?
I think it just goes with what I said about how, and like what you have been saying about there was no mystery. Like, you obviously go into it because it is marketed as a thriller. Like, I go into it feeling like there should be some form of like questioning, but I feel like there wasn't that. The more I'm talking to you both, the more I'm like, this is not 5, which is the worst part.
No, that's not what I want from a live show. I don't want to change your feelings.
No, but it's because it's making me think about it. Do you know what I mean? So, like, I don't know. I feel like I just floated through it a little bit. Whereas with a thriller, I'm like wanting to like really analyze and like think through it. That's what I look for anyway. So yeah, probably the fact that there wasn't really much of a, or if any, a mystery.
I guess there was like a mystery in the fact that like the big person responsible for their deaths ended up being, oh my god, it's been so long since I've read this book now. Ended up being, what's his name? Well, I don't remember. Buddy Lee's ex-wife's
The
husband,
judge? Yeah,
the judge.
Uh-huh.
It ended up being him, for anybody who's just here for spoilers and didn't read the book. And that was definitely like, I guess, an unexpected twist, because like I didn't, although I think it does give you clues leading up to that chapter who it's going to be.
Yeah.
But you almost got it. Right, there we go. Okay, for me, things I didn't like. I just don't like the repetitive violence in books. That's just something that I typically am like, okay, once we have one big action scene and one big shootout, like let's move on to something else. But then like it was shootout after shootout after shootout. And I was like, let's do anything else. And then what else didn't I like? I just feel like a lot of things were predictable. And this is exactly how I feel. The book overall was a bit heavy-handed. Grayson was a caricature. I feel like all the characters were caricatures. And this is something that I don't want to say I didn't like this element, because I actually think it was handled in an okay way. And I actually don't think this should be a spoiler, and I meant to talk about it earlier, but the amount of violence against trans women is like a huge plot point of this book, and ends up being like one of the major plot lines of the book. And I wasn't expecting that. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I just like, I was really caught off guard, and I think that people should know that going in, and I don't think that should necessarily be a spoiler. That one of the main characters, I guess we're kind of led to believe she's a cis woman, and then we find out she's a trans woman, and that's kind of a twist of the story. So I don't really know how to like feel about that. If I don't feel anything like good or bad about it, I just wasn't expecting it. Just because like I know that people like reading about violence against trans people is not something that a lot of people want to be surprised by. Fairly. Okay. What about surprising things? What's like something that surprised you in the book, or what's something that you saw coming? Maybe you could answer both questions.
I would say that something that surprised me in the book was Buddy Lee being sick and like him dying at the end, because I actually felt a little bit emotional when he died at the end. Like, I don't know. I feel like his death scene was like kind of well executed, and I was surprised by how I felt a bit emotional reading it, even though I can't say that it's like I was super invested in the characters. But that final scene between Buddy Lee and Ike, I was like, maybe I did care about them. So that was probably the most surprised I was the entire book, because everything else was very predictable, I'd say.
I agree with you, because I wasn't expecting to cry, but I definitely did during that scene. And I feel like, again, with like the mindset I've been in, which is why I chose to listen to the audiobook, I just haven't really been reading much. So I kind of, for a lot of it, felt like I was just floating through. So the fact that I did like get emotional at that really did kind of take me back, because I was like, oh, like, because same as you, Buddy Lee's like pretty much my favorite character from the book. So yeah. That scene was good.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry. I'm trying to see what I wrote down for things that. Okay, so something I wasn't expecting. Something I was expecting was Buddy Lee's death in the end, and I was expecting it like too much that it lost that kind of emotional impact because I feel like while this book, it's so good that it's been written, it's so good that it exists. Like, it definitely goes outside of the typical things you expect from the genre, which I think is fantastic. And I enjoyed so many things about these men confronting their homophobia and transphobia, and that racism was a conversation. Like those, there's so many things that were so good about it. But it also fell into just like so many tropes of the genre too. And there was no way that one of these men wasn't going to die at the end, especially when we lead up to him like clearly being sick throughout it. And I just knew there was going to be this conversation about like being able to see their sons again, like kind of in the afterlife. And I was just like anticipating so many of these conversations that that's where it lost me, I think. Yeah, people are just bringing up so many things I didn't like about it. It just ended up being like so over the top for me. But I'm really happy if other people loved it, and I don't want to take away from that at all. This is like the most surprising thing. This is the one that I was going to talk about, and then I forgot it. Did we find out that Buddy Lee is the one who vandalized the gravestones? Like that was so unexpected for me. I don't know about you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think the kidnapping thing is just stupid because like they're trying so hard to take care of this girl and they're like so protective of her, and then he like leaves her in the truck, and the second he leaves her in the truck, I'm like, well, she's gone. Like, what are you doing? And then it didn't really go anywhere. And I think like there were a couple moments, like this was their redemption moment. I'm so glad we got a couple conversations with them saying like, this doesn't absolve us, and like we messed up, and like this revenge plot isn't supposed to make us, you know, seem perfect. And those conversations were so important to have. But then they got to like save the little girl, and then they got to, you know, save other people. So that was an important arc for them, and I get why people like that.
Yeah.
Is there any movies or books that you all would recommend if somebody liked Razorblade Tears, or if somebody didn't? Is there anything that comes to mind, like other media that you've consumed that you would recommend? Since so many people like this, I wonder if the comments will be full of some recommendations. That would be cool.
I literally have no idea.
Yeah, I can't really think of anything.
I think I just jotted down movies.
What movies?
Because like I think what these two characters have is like it's like the dynamic of two people who you don't typically associate with each other. So like two people working together who don't really have much in common. I wrote down like unlikely duos. That's the trope. I wrote down True Grit and The Big Lebowski and Harold and Kumar and Rush Hour and Men in Black.
Mm-hmm.
They're all very different like tones and genres, but I think if you're looking for that unlikely duo, those are some like action kind of stories that might work for you.
Yeah. Oh, I definitely agree with the Quentin Tarantino. I would also say probably like Taken, because I feel like that's like kind of similar, you know, dad on a rampage type story. So
That's a good one. I knew the comments wouldn't let me down. Amazing. Okay. Sorry, now I'm just reading all of these recommendations so I can read some watch some movies. Okay, I think that's kind of it. Did I have any other questions? Or if anyone has anything else they want to chat about before we wrap it up.
I like this one comment. It says Lovecraft Country may be something you would like if you didn't like this. And I think that would be a cool recommendation, actually. Lovecraft Country is really interesting. It's like a magical horror TV show. But I think it's pretty cool. I would definitely recommend it.
I don't think I've even heard of that.
I would say that it has like a similar kind of over the top violence thing going on because it is like a horror show, but you get the perspective of like people of color and queer people and stuff like that. So it's cool.
Okay. Do you guys have any thoughts on Tangerine as a character?
I wanted to say this earlier. I really feel like S.A. Crosby saw the film Tangerine. Tangerine is like an indie film about a queer trans sex worker, I believe. And I feel like he saw that film and then he was like, "Oh my god, I'm going to put her in my book. This is going to be so good."
That's so random.
Like that's how
Yeah.
it felt to me personally. I can't make any judgments on what his writing process was, but that's how it felt to me. As soon as I saw her name was Tangerine, I'm like, okay, I guess.
I'm now looking it up. Huh. For me, I like Tangerine's character. I just think she just led to like a lot of like conversations that like the book wanted to have, which
Yeah.
is fine. I think some of like the, for me, heavy-handed conversations were related to Tangerine. I know a couple people were talking earlier about how like the ease at which these men accepted her so quickly was interesting, considering like how just a week ago they wouldn't accept their sons. And I think like it's good to show that character development. It makes sense, but I feel like the book could have utilized her a little more, used her as like a full character rather
Yeah,
than just to lead to the conversations about like, this is what an ally is, this is how to be an ally, and like explaining what it was to be trans and like having those very specific like definitions that the book wanted to have.
I agree
Mhm.
with the comments that saying her specifically, but also just like the women in general in the book were quite underdeveloped. But I definitely think Tangerine was as well. Yeah. But I did like her. But I definitely think more could have been done with her character.
Yeah, I think it's tough, obviously, like when an author is writing outside of their own experience, like I respect how he didn't attempt to make Tangerine the main character or speak from her perspective. So like I want to also respect that he didn't try to do that and he stayed in his own lane more so. So okay, I think that's it. I'm glad we got to answer a question at the end. Oh, here, actually, this is a good one. Will you guys read his other books? I actually wasn't really interested in Blacktop Wasteland, I think it's called. But having read this and like knowing that I enjoy his actual writing, I think I will pick up something else. I just didn't love this story. What about you guys?
I do not think I'll be reading another one. I do think that his writing style is cool and everything, but I feel like if I were to experience a story like this, I would rather watch it than read it. So I just don't think I'd be interested in reading another one of his books.
I definitely think I need to go away and at some point reread or re-listen to this before I decide.
I think I'll keep my eye out for the things that he writes in the future. Yeah, because I'd be interested to see what else he writes. Because obviously, I know now that there are a lot of things that, like, I went into this book questioning how it was going to handle things, and I do think a lot of things were done really respectfully and really smartly, and that's great. So I think I can trust where he's going to go with things, and I'd be interested to see what he comes out with next. Action is not my favorite thing. I've learned,
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Sorry, I'm just looking at the comment. It's like not giving Molly.
Oh man. Well, you know what? For the first book of the year, I think it went pretty well. Like when I look at the ratings, people liked it, and there's definitely a lot to talk about. Sometimes, like obviously, I haven't read these books before I pick them, and sometimes there's no conversation to be had, and it's just like a weird book, and you're like, what was the plot? And like, at least there was so much going on that we had things to talk about, which is so good, and people have a lot of feelings. At least this book inspires a lot of interesting feelings, so that's good. Okay, I think we'll wrap it up. The next live show is going to be for the Paris apartment in just a couple weeks. So I will post this soon so you can click your little set reminder button on that. And I'm looking forward to chatting with you guys all year. And thank you too for joining me for this one.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, bye everyone.